peptides are everywhere right now. Fat loss, energy, sleep, longevity, it kind of feels like we found this shortcut. Except more and more women spending thousands of dollars on peptides and actually feeling worse. So if you've tried peptides and thought, why isn't this working for me? Or you're thinking about starting peptides, I'm hoping that this episode saves you a lot of money and a lot of frustration. Hey there, I'm Bria, and welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. If you're over 35 and ready for real answers about your hormones, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and stay with us. Hey there, sister. Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast. How are you feeling in your body today? Let me ask you this. Have you been feeling like you go to your social media and you're hearing about peptides everywhere? Like everyone you know is on a peptide? Maybe that's not the case, but we've talked about peptides on this podcast now. Gosh, I think I did a series in November, I did a series in February, and I'm going to bring it back and do a series here in May. Why, do we ask? Because number one, I feel like everyone is on peptides or asking about peptides. Number two, I have had so many messages after each of these series that I have done around peptide therapy with people who've had bad experiences, people who are confused. I have also had so many clients with some really great wins, and I've even had a few clients where we've had some sticky points. So I think it's a really important conversation for us to continue to have because they're not going anywhere, these peptides. In fact, it is estimated that by 2030, it will be a $75 billion industry. And what that means to me is that people are going to try to make money on these. And I feel a responsibility after someone using them in practice, using with myself, having my own values on it, being in the wellness industry, to at least be somewhat of a clear voice to give you education so that you can make the right choice for you in the safest way possible. I have really found like I cannot open my social media without another new peptide thing popping up. In fact, it reminds me of when weed became legal, especially in Canada. It was like I was there, it became legal in Canada first, and then I moved to the US and it became legal in many of the states here. And it was like a pot shop popping up on every single corner. And it doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It doesn't mean that those are the greatest of quality. What it means is that we must educate ourselves because no matter what, everything in this world can be used for the most part for good, and everything in this world can do damage if used incorrectly. Even drinking too much water can cause you problems in your body. Even sleeping too much, working out too much can do that. So things that we actually have proof can be very good and healthy for you can create a huge problem. Too much of anything is not necessarily a good thing. And yet, what I know to be true through the research, through my own experience, through seeing the success stories in my clients using peptides appropriately and then safely coming off of them, I've seen them have incredible results. That's why we're going to continue this conversation here in May. I want to cover some key topics for you. I want to talk about the newer research that's coming out. I want to talk about some of the new peptides that I have had the opportunity to try, some of the successes I've seen, and some of the pitfalls that come, because I know that if you are a woman in midlife, you are going to be marketed to more than ever with peptides, and it's probably going to be a quick fix marketing. And I am like every other woman. I fall prey to these quick fix things, especially when I'm in a desperate moment. So I want you to use this little series as some education, some opportunity to think for yourself about peptide therapy. And then should you choose to learn more, to really reach out to a practitioner. I will be very open and honest that I don't feel the best about just hearing an anecdotal story from a friend and then going off and buying your own peptides. I feel very firmly that you should be working with an educated practitioner to ensure that it is the right fit for you because well, you know what? Before I blow the lead here, why don't I get into this? Peptides are everywhere right now. Fat loss, energy, sleep, longevity. It kind of feels like we found this shortcut. Except, like I said, I'm seeing more and more women spending thousands of dollars on peptides and actually feeling worse. I don't think that's most, but I do see it happen and I see it enough. More tired, more stuck, more confused, not getting the results that they expected of it. So if you've tried peptides and thought, why isn't this working for me? And I even have a couple of clients where we've run into this, or you're thinking about starting peptides, I'm hoping that this episode saves you a lot of money and a lot of frustration. Because here's the truth that I don't think is being said loudly enough. Peptides are not where we start. And if you skip the steps, they can actually make things worse. There is a caveat to that. There are some peptides that can be an amazing part of helping foundational steps come to the table. But again, this is not something that you should just in a frustrated moment purchase off the internet or from your friend who had great results. It's not that thing. That's how we get into trouble and how things that can be used for such good are going to be labeled as something that is very damaging or start to cause problems. So let's talk a little bit first about this whole peptide explosion and why everyone, of course, is jumping in. Like I said, we know that this is going to be a massive industry, so we know you are going to be marketed to you and I as much as they can so it can be capitalized. GLP-1s specifically are weight loss ones that we know. And it's funny because when used appropriately, the research shows us the awesomeness of GLP-1s. And, some people call them GLP-2s and GLP-3s, so semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide. They are so powerful in helping improve the signaling in our metabolics, making you more insulin sensitive, even supporting your liver, bringing down the inflammation in your body. But when used inappropriately, they can at best not work at all. At worst, tank your cortisol, cause you to lose your muscle, and create a lot more GI issues for you. I also think that peptides are on the rise because biohacking culture is rising. And I actually think this is a really cool thing because I think biohacking is a way for us as people to start to feel empowered and better know our own body so that we can get the best results out of it. But like at its core, biohacking requires you to understand your own biology so that you can hack it. Not everyone else's biology, right? Everyone's biology is very different. So there is like a buyer beware component to biohacking where we must recognize our role in this, that we have to get educated in this area, or we need to pay someone who is educated in this area to teach us. And frankly, that's how any of us get educated, is we pay for education, right? That's how we learn things. And then we try, and then we learn, and then we try. If you want to fast track that process, you pay an expert, not someone necessarily on the internet. I also think they are exploding because we are seeing influencers stacking them like supplements. And I really, really have a hard time with this as a practitioner. The integrity of this makes my stomach a bit queasy because, again, this is not a cottage cheese situation where now all of a sudden we're making everything out of cottage cheese or we're eating all the chicken. This is something that you are likely going to inject into your body and impact your physiology. So it is not really a space where I think should be left to influencers without education. And I also think that just like birth control was handed out, without any thought to what it meant, long down the way, we understand that clinics are handing them out without deeper testing. So you guys, me, my clients are coming to the table thinking I'm doing everything right and still not losing weight. I just want something that works. I don't have time to figure this out. And this is how we're being marketed to. Oh, this is your answer. But I am telling you right now, this is not necessarily your answer. And I'm going to walk you through how to understand where to find that answer. And in fact, why this is even happening. But I will tell you, I don't believe when used properly, peptides do not make you lazy. It makes you human. So like wanting to find an answer for yourself, wanting for something to be easier for you, to take less effort, does not make you a lazy person. It makes you human, first of all. And at least you're being curious about yourself. We just want to make sure we're curious enough to see the full picture and to also always remember that our bodies are not vending machines. We do not get something for nothing. Everything in our body works together. So we got here to this place in how we're feeling in our body through many, many steps. And so there's not going to be one quick little injection fix to fix that. There's so much more to it. Okay. I don't want this to be such a Debbie Downer because I do love peptide therapy and I think there's so much power in it. And I want you to be able to get the beautiful biohacking benefits of it. But there's other steps that have to be done first. And that's what that's the message as a practitioner I really want to lead with out into this world that is going to get noisier and noisier around peptides. I don't want it to just be this hype and excitement. I want you to feel empowered and educated to know your body and to make the best decision for your body and to have the data to support that. So I would say that the biggest mistake, and you're going to hear me say this again and again and again, is skipping the foundations, right? What most people that are having issues, and not all, but what most people that are having issues do, they jump straight from, I don't feel well, this is my problem, a peptide is going to fix this. No real look at your gut health, no real look at the adrenal function, no real look at your hormones, no real look at your nutrient status. And that's a problem because we are not having a peptide deficiency in our body, right? Peptides, what they do at their core is restore messaging. And we need to understand why that messaging broke and the ramifications, the butterfly effect, the ripple effect of the breaking of that communication. So how do we put the pieces back together in our body so that that messaging can come back together? Like as if someone, snipped your telephone wire and suddenly we have broken telephone. We still need to make sure both sides of the telephone are there before we restore that wire properly. When it comes to our hormones really do need to be optimized. And what I mean by optimized is we need to make sure your body has what she needs in order to make the hormones and has the capability and function in order to metabolize and eliminate those hormones from our body. Our sex hormones, our adrenal hormones, our thyroid hormones are all impacted by peptide therapy. So we want to make sure that they are in the best situation they can be so that, again, peptides become the icing on your cake, the sprinkles, the cherry on top to take you from an 8 to a 10 because you have done that underlying work. So when we jump straight to peptides and without looking at these things, what happens and what we see happens and what I've seen happen as a practitioner is that one, you don't respond. You don't respond at all. It worked for everyone else. Why not me? Simple answer, because your body wasn't ready. Number two, you feel worse. Fatigue increases, your cortisol tanks, your sleep gets disrupted, your anxiety spikes, you have more GI issues, huge problems in the body that now we have to correct, which takes longer. So now this quick fix that we were sold through marketing is no longer a quick fix. It made things way worse, and we got a little caught up in that shiny object syndrome. Or number three, you stall or you rebound, right? Especially with things like GLP-1s. What can happen if you aren't doing the underlying work before you take a peptide, like a weight loss peptide, like a GLP-1 or 2 or 3, if you're not doing that underlying work, eating a protein forward diet, making sure your gut is in, good array, making sure your hormones are optimized, making sure you are working on building lean muscle, then we start to see weight loss plateaus fast. It's a key indicator that something isn't right, that your body wasn't ready for it yet. Or perhaps the amount that you're taking isn't right for you. There's so many nuances to this, which again is why we don't want to willy-nilly this stuff unless you are going to be a super nerdy researcher like me and go down that path. But even I have made sure to have mentors, to have practitioners that help me with my peptide journey. Remember that peptides will always amplify what's already happening in your body right now. So if your foundation is off, they're going to amplify that dysfunction. It's not another band-aid. It's not another quick fix that's going to allow you to keep living the chaotic life that you have that brought you to the dysfunction that you're in the first place. And I think most importantly here is recognizing that peptides do not answer the most important question. Why are we here? Not why are we here on this earth? That sounded very philosophical. But why are we in the place that we're in having the symptoms that we're having? Why are we not sleeping? Why are we not putting on lean muscle? Why are we getting sick all of the time? Why is your gut a mess? Why are you gaining weight or can't lose weight? Why when we answer these questions, why is your metabolism slow? Why is your cortisol dysregulated? Why is your gut inflamed? Why are your hormones low or imbalanced? When we answer these questions, we start to find your answers to unwind that so it doesn't keep happening, right? We start to create the path, the customized path to your healing in your biology. That's biohacking, my friend. Peptides don't solve these questions. They can reduce symptoms. They can speed healing. So they can make your journey faster, but not without the two sides of the telephone. Let's just remember that. We have to have all equipment here on board. You know, they can support all of the systems in your body, which is what is so incredible about them. But they do not fix root cause on their own. So using peptides without understanding your body is like putting a fresh coat of paint on a house with a cracked foundation to sell it quickly, right? It's a bit of a scam. It might look better for a minute, but the structure has not changed. And if you fall for that scam and you buy that house without using an inspector to inspect the foundation of your house, you're going to spend a lot of money and a lot of emotion, move into this home only to find out you have much bigger problems in a cracked foundation. And it won't matter how pretty that paint job was because it is going to crack again. And every time you paint it, it's going to crack. Every time you paint it, it's going to crack. All the while, further dysfunction is happening in your foundation of your body, of your house. There's my metaphor. So let's talk a little bit about the potential downsides of skipping these steps, right? Of not really understanding the why, of not doing the foundational work. Wasted money is a big one, right? We know that even research, and even research lab or gray market peptides um, add up. Like they can get expensive, especially when you're like, is this working? Isn't it working? Am I doing it right? Do I know? Who knows? Hormone dysregulation worsens. That is the opposite of what we are all doing here on the Period Whisperer podcast. We are trying to keep our hormones regulated as best as possible to navigate this transition into menopause and beyond. Adrenal burnout patterns deepen, gut issues get ignored, so inflammation continues in the body. And of course, muscle loss, especially on GLP-1s without proper support, can create a big problem for so many people. When I get a lot of questions, and we've talked about this before, about will I have to be on this forever? And fundamentally, if you have done this underlying work, you've got your foundations, you're supporting your body, the functions of your body are working, and you take an appropriate amount of a GLP-1 peptide for your body to do what we need it to do for you, to help you be more insulin sensitive, to bring down your inflammation, to support you metabolically. You don't have to be on peptides forever. And in fact, you should not. Most research points to the fact that, okay, maybe it's safe to be on for decades. Maybe you're not going to die from it, but maybe you're not going to die from smoking for a decade. but it's still doing damage for you for a little while. And we can see after 4 decades, there's a huge difference there, right? So we want to make sure that we are doing these pieces because when you do these pieces, we cycle off. And then our body can actually handle a lot of this all on its own. I see women losing weight on GLP-1s, but also losing muscle, tanking their metabolism and their cortisol stores, and setting themselves up to gain it all back. I also see women not doing that. There are so many amazing success stories out there. You just want to make sure that you understand the difference of why one person got here and why another person got here. And until you understand what it takes to get from here to there, unique in your body, I think you want to pause and get the research, get the backing, no matter how badly you might want to lose that weight or how badly you might want the answer to your problem. We want to slow down and do it right. You want to be the third little pig who builds your house out of brick that the big bad wolf cannot huff and puff and blow down. Okay, what does your body actually need? Obviously, foundations first, right? Protein intake. Most women are under eating. This is always an interesting piece because I want to give you clear answers, but only your body knows how much protein it needs and can it even break down and absorb that protein. But we do know that most women are needing 20 to 30 grams of protein at least every single meal in their day. Most of us, in fact, all of us need strength training. This is a non-negotiable one in midlife. However, if your cortisol is tanked, we cannot be strength training yet. So we need to understand, where are my adrenals at? And if they're low, why are they low? Is it because you have a parasite? Is it because you've had poor gut dysbiosis for a really long time? How do we get this gut healed so the adrenals heal so that we can see even if we are going to need or benefit from peptide therapy? We need blood sugar stability. Again, this is a sticky one because we know the way to consistent blood sugar and blood sugar stability is in some amazing tips like eating consistently, eating enough protein, eating enough fiber, eating 3 meals a day. And if you have gut dysfunction, you might not be getting the nutrients out of your food to have a stable blood sugar. If you're having, if you are extremely insulin resistant because of something else going on, sometimes when your hormones aren't optimized, we become more insulin resistant, then it doesn't matter how well you're eating or if you are walking after your meals, we might not be able to get that answer. We have to heal that dysfunction first. Minerals and hydration, you hear me talk about that all the time. This is why we really want the most absorbable minerals that we can find. Here's my shameless plug for Beam Minerals. I absolutely love and adore them because they are very absorbable. Even if your gut is off, they're going to help give your body those tools. But we need these minerals. And we don't know if you need more than basic minerals like Beam Minerals unless we do functional testing. And of course, sleep rhythm. Sleep rhythm is so critical that we need. So here's where you get your data, right? We get it from a Dutch test, where we're looking at our cortisol, how it's metabolizing. We look at our sex hormones, how they're metabolizing and detoxing through the body, what your body is missing that it needs. We get a full picture of that. This is where we want to do a GI map, right? We get to get a really good look about how your gut is doing, breaking down and absorbing things, how it's protecting you and supporting your immune system, how it's handling the inflammation in your body. We do not want to slow down gut absorption if it's already suffering in there. And that is one of the things that happens when we use a GLP-1. You do not necessarily need a stronger tool. You need a smarter sequence. And when you get a smarter sequence, when you get a customized sequence to biohack your body, like you actually get the data, we actually get the steps, we put them in place, sister, peptides really can be that cherry on top for you. They really can. Although some of you might not even need them, but they can be amazing if you do these steps first. Otherwise, you might just be buying something off the internet that isn't going to work for you at best and that is going to cause more damage at worst. This is exactly why I'm doing this mini series for you in April, right? So we just kicked it off because peptides, they can be incredible. They can absolutely accelerate healing and results. And I will tell you, as I said, when you have a customized protocol, we can strategically see, hey, now this peptide, once we have these ingredients, once we have these steps happening, this peptide can actually speed that process up. So yes, it is a way to get there faster, but it's not a way to skip steps. And I think that's an important thing to differentiate. They can absolutely accelerate the healing and results, but only when they are used at the right time, in the right body, for the right reason. So, in the next episode, I'm going to walk you through the exact order I use with my clients, the framework that makes peptides actually work, because we're not guessing over here. We're building bodies that respond. We are working with our beautiful body, not being an evil dictator telling her how it has to be or overriding her natural response. So if you are already using peptides and not seeing results, or if you're thinking about starting and want to do it right, this is where testing and strategy matter for you. You can, of course, book a call with me, swipe up, book a free call, and we'll map out exactly where your body is and if it actually, needs peptides, or maybe you are in a place. Sometimes I get on calls with people and they have some labs run, we have a conversation, I understand what they're going through, and it can make sense for peptides to be that next step for you. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to help you understand the strategy and the data to know your body and get her back to a place where you trust each other. You ask her to do something, she listens, she gives you feedback, you listen. That's what we're trying to do here, to empower you to really listen to the messages of your body so that you're working together as one, especially now in our 40s and 50s and beyond. This is what it's going to this is what gives you the opportunity to live your life with vitality for a very long time, to accomplish all the things and experience all the things that I know you want in your life. I know your life is busy, but there are no shortcuts. There are fast passes. So we want to make sure that we understand what those are. Swipe up, book a call with me. We'll map that out. Going forward, we're going to talk about so many great things. So come back to this series. Subscribe if you're here on YouTube. Subscribe if you're on iTunes or Spotify. Listen, send me an email or a message on Instagram. Tell me what your questions are, and I'll make sure to get them covered in this mini series in May. But for now, be prepared for the fact that you are going to be more inundated with peptides than ever before, just like we've been more inundated with perimenopause than ever before. And you want to be the person that takes a breath, looks inside, and makes the right decision for you based on data and based on accurate information. All right, sister, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Go out, be more in your life and not just less on a scale, and we'll catch you in the next episode. If you're 35 plus and ready to stop guessing, start understanding your hormones, and feel your absolute best, hit subscribe. That's what we do here.